Hello, folks. Welcome to another edition of the Dr. Mark Foster Show. Today I will talk about an experience which I had this past Thursday. Today is May 5th, 2013. As soon as I get the CD of the event, I will post that as well here as another edition of the show. But I thought I would just offer my initial reflections on it. I think that perhaps it might be of interest to some people. I had a regression, a hypnotic regression. It was the first time that I have ever had anything like that done formally. I have listened to regressions that were recorded and have attempted to do that myself as well, with varying amounts of success. But this was different. This individual was trained by Dolores Cannon. I will have a link to her website below this program. I will also have a link to the book on Amazon, which was written by this specific hypnotist which I saw. She has been doing hypnotherapy for a couple of decades. In addition to being trained in Dolores Cannon's system, she has also been trained in other systems as well. The hypnosis was fascinating. Now, I did not, to be honest, entirely agree with all of the assumptions that were made by the hypnotist. I did feel at times as though she did not understand exactly what I was saying, because my views, my belief system is different than hers, and so I would say something and she would try to force it into her own way of looking at things. But even with all of those defects, it was a fascinating and extraordinarily enlightening experience for me. I really enjoyed going through it. The reason why I decided to do it was because of these angelic interventions, which some people have referred to as alien abductions or contact experiences. I'm not going to dismiss the validity of the term alien abduction. That certainly does not in any way describe my own personal experience, but that's, again, that is for other people to decide as to whether they had anything like that. In fact, I can relate very strongly to the views of Dr. Meg Blackburn-Losey and Victoria Liljenquist. I'm going to read this very brief excerpt from an interview which was done of Victoria Liljenquist by Dr. Blackburn-Losey on the Dr. Meg show. This was on the One World Puja Network from October 11th, 2006. First, Dr. Meg Blackburn-Losey. They, the beings, can be so multidimensional. Victoria Liljenquist. But it's not a scary thing. In my case, this is a delightful and beautiful journey that I have, and there is no fear, and my contact has not been scary or abductive. Dr. Meg Blackburn-Losey. Well, let's talk about that for just a second. Let's talk about the difference between being a contactee and an abductee, because there's a major difference there, and I would just like to bring a clarification. A lot of people hear nothing but, if they hear anything at all, it's all about abduction and this and that and the other. And while I truly know that that does exist, that's not what we're talking about in this now. Victoria Liljenquist. No, no. And we honor those people who have gone through those experiences, and we are not saying that those are not real. But there are so many people that are having positive contact. I mean, I've awakened in the night when I've been very, very ill, and there have been gold beings standing around my bed doing healing work on me. Dr. Meg Blackburn Losey. So what do the messages you receive have to say about that, the shift in consciousness? Victoria Liljenquist. Well, the most profound one first came in 1997, and I had 3 different visions, and 2 of them were one night after the other, March 30th and March 31st, 1997, and they showed me a long-distance view, like if you were an astronaut and you were looking at the Earth. I saw 2 Earths. One was at a higher altitude or degree than the other, and I saw this kind of implosion going from one Earth to the other. And when I awakened, I say, I know that I was on the ship last night and you showed me this vision. What does this mean? I need more information. And gratefully, the next night, they gave me the sequel to that vision. I was standing on a balcony in a courtyard, like in an apartment area, and people were running around just in a frenzy of confusion, kind of like we see the world today, just kind of losing it. And I look up, and I see this ominous planet that's moving toward us, and it fills up the entire sky. I see no atmosphere. All I see is this planet. And the people start screaming at the planet and saying, "Who are you? And what do you want?" And I turn to them and say, "How can you say this to something so incredibly beautiful?" And at that moment I hear a voice, and it was a male's voice, and it says, "Victoria, this is your new home." And then that planet started moving away from Earth. I knew that was the second Earth. I had not heard anyone speak of the second Earth before that, and then later on I found the Hopi prophecies talk about the second Earth, and more people would write me as say, "Oh, I've seen that too. Oh, that was a great confirmation." And the third vision came the night that Princess Diana passed away, which was August 31st, 1997, and I was laying in my bed and I wasn't completely asleep, but all of a sudden I had a panorama vision appear, and they, the beings, showed me looking out the doors of the house, and the world had made the shift. It looked the same, but there was no evil. That kind of capsulizes my own experience. I have never had an experience of an abduction per se, at least not that I recall. All of my experiences have been positive and loving, and yet I have had experiences. I have, like many contactees, seen flashes of light. I have, like many contactees, received dreams and inspirations of coming world catastrophes and sufferings, including nuclear annihilation and planetary devastations of various sorts. And so, although I think that I am, to use the common jargon, a contactee, or as I prefer, someone who has experienced an angelic intervention, I did not have any of the negativity that many people associate with it. So for that reason, I really identified with Victoria Liljenquist. Her account was really the first one that I had read, which made that kind of distinction between an abductive experience and a contact experience. And to me, that distinction is very profound. Let me mention for a moment some aspects, as I recall them, of the hypnotic regression. I don't remember everything in detail. After I get the CD, as I said, I will play it back and the rest of it I will hear. But I recall a few things. One of them was a confirmation of the same experience that I had during a meditation a while back, where I saw a being whose image I will post that image below this program as well. A rather unusual looking being with an oblong face, brownish colored, very thin arms and very thin legs. The being was moving her arms around very rapidly in kind of jerking motions, and it appeared to me to be some type of spacecraft, although the being was looking directly at me, not at any kind of control board. So it was a bit odd. The being, as I recalled in the hypnotic regression, was not conveying any sense of gender, so at least not physically. The feminine gender that I got from her was something that was entirely intuitive. It was not any kind of physical thing that I noticed. In addition, this being was not behaving in a way that I would normally associate with somebody who was being friendly and kind and loving. And yet, beneath that, I saw that there was a very strong spirit of love in this being, spirit of kindliness. It's a bit like, I suppose, kind of cultural conflict or culture shock, when people from two different cultures meet. They may have in their minds what is the proper form of behavior, but because the symbols are so different, they could easily be misinterpreted by the other. One brief example, when Koreans began moving into a section of Brooklyn, New York, which was predominantly African American, the Koreans would not smile, and the African Americans understandably interpreted that as a lack of friendliness. However, in Korean culture, overt expressions of emotion are generally frowned upon. So in that context it makes sense, but because of the culture clash, there was a level of misunderstanding. So I think it's something like that, perhaps. Somehow I was able to see past the differences in expression. I did not expect this being to behave in a way that was like me, and so I could appreciate her for what she was and for the manner in which she was behaving toward me. Also, during the hypnotic regression, the name of the being occurred to me. Arintin. Arintin. And I don't know what that means, but somehow that was the name. When the hypnotist said, "What is her name?" I paused for a second and said, "Arrington." And that name just kept on revolving around and around in my head. So it stayed with me. That was a major part of it. In addition, well, I don't believe in reincarnation in the ordinary sense. I don't believe that individual souls return again and again to this world. That is contrary to the teachings of the Baha'i faith. Souls are here once, they go through this earthly journey, and they move into the next world to continue their spiritual progress. But there is a return of spirit, or qualities, or mission. Here's my own understanding of that. I think that just as the prophets return again and again, they are each individual souls, and yet there is a continuity, a progressive revelation. One follows the next. In a similar way, I think that there are those types of continuities with us, that in a sense, each of us is the return of a series of beings who perhaps had similar attributes and a similar mission. During the hypnotic regression, the mission that I have occurred to me as unity in isolation. I thought of that in relationship to being an autist or autistic. And when I was reflecting back on the past and on the possibility of earlier lives, I sensed that that was a part of all of my lives. I was isolated, and yet in that isolation I discovered unity. In other words, there is a place for all of us. No one is unwanted or unneeded. Diversity is a good thing. It is not something to be afraid of. And having recognized that, I think that I can better appreciate myself and my own life. Once again, after I receive that CD or DVD, which I imagine will be sometime this week, the week of May 5th, I will take that file and I will upload it as another program on YouTube. And I will also preface it by some other comments, probably similar to the ones I've just made, but a bit more complex after having listened to myself speaking in it. I will apologize in advance. My speech, as I recall it, in the regression was not that clear. I do have a problem with stuttering. I have learned to overcome it. However, if I am not focused on speaking and I'm thinking about something else, then I will ordinarily fall back into my stuttering and rapid speech. And obviously, since I was thinking about other things during the hypnotic state, my sense is that I was stuttering quite a bit, and my voice was at times rather rapid. I'm not sure. I will know more when I actually hear the recording. Until next time, this is Dr. Mark Foster. Have a good one.